Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on chemical control and integration. Today, we'll explore how effective chemical management plays a crucial role in our operations. We'll cover key strategies, best practices, and innovative approaches to ensure safety and efficiency. I'm excited to have you all here and look forward to sharing valuable insights. Let's get started. Let's take a quick overview of the human endocrine system and its complex network of glands and hormones. At the core, we have the endocrine glands and hormones, which regulate many vital functions in our bodies. Moving through this interconnected system, we see the role of the pituitary gland, often called the master gland, which influences other glands like the thyroid, adrenal, and gonads. The hypothalamus, located in the brain, acts as a control center, coordinating signals to the pituitary. The adenoepiphysis, or anterior pituitary, secretes hormones that regulate growth, metabolism, and reproduction. The neurohypophysis, or posterior pituitary, releases hormones like vasopressin and oxytocin. Next, we have the thyroid gland, which produces hormones crucial for metabolism, and the parathyroid glands, which regulate calcium levels. The adrenal glands, situated on top of the kidneys, produce hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, vital for stress response and metabolism. The ovaries and testes are essential for reproductive functions, secreting sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. The pineal gland, though small, influences sleep-wake cycles through melatonin production. We also explore other glands such as the thymus, important for immune development, and the heart and kidney, which produce hormones involved in blood pressure and fluid balance. The pancreas, a key player, produces insulin and glucagon, managing blood sugar levels. Finally, we look into the functioning of both peptide and steroid hormones, understanding how they operate at a cellular level, and how hormones can work together or oppose each other through synergistic or antagonistic interactions. This interconnected web illustrates just how finely tuned and complex our endocrine system truly is. Let's take a closer look at the endocrine glands and hormones. These glands are small but incredibly important because they produce hormones that regulate many functions in our body. You'll find them throughout the body, and each one has a specific role. For example, the pituitary gland, often called the master gland, controls other glands and releases hormones that influence growth, metabolism, and reproduction. Then there's the thyroid gland, which regulates our metabolism and energy levels. The adrenal glands produce hormones that help us respond to stress and maintain salt and water balance. The pancreas has a dual role, acting as both an endocrine and exocrine gland, with its hormones like insulin and glucagon managing blood sugar levels. Understanding these glands and their hormones is key because they help coordinate everything from growth and development to mood and immune function, fitting into the larger picture of how our bodies maintain balance and health. Let's take a closer look at the differences between vertebrates and invertebrates when it comes to hormones. Vertebrates have a large number of chemicals acting as hormones, which play a crucial role in providing coordination within their bodies. In contrast, invertebrates tend to have much simpler endocrine systems with fewer hormones, reflecting their different biological needs. Now, moving on to what hormones actually are. Hormones are non-nutrient chemicals, meaning they're not involved in providing energy or building blocks, but they are produced in very small amounts, just trace levels. Despite their small quantities, they act as intercellular messengers, communicating signals from one cell or tissue to another. This regulation is vital for maintaining the body's biological processes. It's also important to note that organized endocrine glands not only secrete hormones, but can produce other molecules as well, adding to their regulatory functions. Next, let's differentiate between types of glands. Exocrine glands have ducts. They discharge their secretions directly onto body surfaces or into body cavities. For example, the liver and salivary glands are exocrine glands because they release substances like bile or saliva through ducts. On the other hand, endocrine glands are ductless. They pour their secretions, which are hormones, directly into the bloodstream. From there, these hormones travel through the blood to reach their specific targets, which can be located quite far from the gland itself. The secretions of endocrine glands are called internal secretions or hormones, and they are essential for regulating many physiological functions across the body. Understanding the distinction between these glands helps us appreciate how the body maintains internal coordination, especially through the endocrine system and hormone signaling. Now, let's take a closer look at the human endocrine system. This slide is titled 2 to indicate it's part of the larger section we're exploring. The endocrine system plays a crucial role in regulating many bodily functions through the production and release of hormones. These hormones act as chemical messengers, traveling through the bloodstream to target organs and tissues. This system works closely with the nervous system to maintain homeostasis, or the body's internal balance. Understanding how the endocrine system operates helps us grasp how our bodies respond to various stimuli and maintain overall health. As we go through this presentation, keep in mind that the endocrine system is vital for growth, metabolism, reproduction, and mood regulation. It's a complex but fascinating network that keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes. Let's delve into the types of endocrine glands we find in the human body. First, we have the partial or mixed endocrine glands. These are interesting because they serve dual functions. They are partly endocrine, meaning they secrete hormones, and partly exocrine, meaning they produce substances like enzymes or other fluids. Examples of these include the kidneys, liver, gastrointestinal tract, heart, and placenta. They perform multiple roles depending on the body's needs. Next, we have the pure endocrine glands. These are dedicated solely to hormone secretion. They include some of the most well-known glands such as the hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, adrenal glands, pancreas, parathyroid, thymus, and the gonads, meaning the testes in males and ovaries in females. These glands are specialized for hormone production and regulation, which is central to maintaining homeostasis. Now, considering the broader picture, the human endocrine system is composed not only of these discrete glands, but also of hormone-producing tissues and cells scattered throughout the body. This network is quite complex. For example, hormones from one gland can influence other glands, either stimulating them to produce more hormones or inhibiting their activity. This creates a dynamic, interconnected system. Finally, it's important to understand that these glands can vary in their structure. Some are discrete organs, while others are diffuse tissues. This structural diversity helps the endocrine system adapt and efficiently regulate many physiological processes critical for our health and well-being. Let's take a closer look at the hypothalamus. This small but mighty part of the brain plays a crucial role in regulating many essential bodily functions. It acts as a kind of command center, controlling things like hunger, thirst, body temperature, and sleep. The hypothalamus also connects the nervous system to the endocrine system through the pituitary gland, which means it helps regulate hormones that influence growth, metabolism, and reproductive processes. Throughout our presentation, we've seen how the hypothalamus integrates signals from the body and the brain to maintain homeostasis, the body's internal balance. Its ability to coordinate these diverse functions makes it a key player in overall health and well-being. In humans, the complete endocrine system operates in a very coordinated way, and a key player in this coordination is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus acts like a central command center, regulating many aspects of our hormonal functions. It influences the pituitary gland, which is often called the master gland, and through it, controls a wide range of hormonal activities throughout the body. This connection essentially means that the hypothalamus helps maintain balance and stability, or homeostasis, by integrating signals from different parts of the brain and body. So, understanding the hypothalamus is crucial because it links the nervous system with the endocrine system, ensuring that our body responds appropriately to internal and external changes. This sets the stage for the overall theme of how interconnected and finely tuned our body's systems really are. Now, let's look at the concept of releasing hormones. These are hormones that play a crucial role in stimulating the secretion of hormones from the pituitary gland. For example, gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, or GnRH, is a key hormone here. It stimulates the gonadotroph cells in the anterior pituitary to release gonadotrophins, which are essential for reproductive functions. The hormones produced by the hypothalamus are of two main types. The hypothalamus itself contains several groups of neurosecretory cells, called nuclei. These nuclei produce hormones that are vital for regulating the synthesis and secretion of hormones from the pituitary gland. It's important to remember that the hypothalamus is located in the basal part of the diencephalon, which is part of the forebrain. Its position allows it to regulate a wide range of functions across the body, acting as a critical link between the nervous system and the endocrine system. So, in summary, these releasing hormones from the hypothalamus are fundamental in controlling how the pituitary gland functions, and ultimately, how various bodily functions are maintained. Let's take a closer look at the hypothalamus. This small but mighty part of the brain plays a crucial role in regulating many essential functions. It's often called the brain's thermostat because it helps control body temperature. But its responsibilities go far beyond that. The hypothalamus also manages hunger and thirst, guiding us to eat and drink when needed. It helps regulate sleep-wake cycles, ensuring our body stays in sync with the day-night rhythm. Additionally, it plays a key role in controlling the release of hormones from the pituitary gland, which affects growth, metabolism, and stress responses. Overall, the hypothalamus acts as a central hub for maintaining homeostasis, keeping our internal environment stable. Its functions are interconnected with many other systems we've discussed, making it vital for our overall health and well-being. Now, let's look at how hormones from the hypothalamus reach their target areas. These hormones travel through a special circulatory route called the hypophyseal portal system. This network of blood vessels directly connects the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary, allowing these hormones to regulate its functions efficiently. It's a clever system because it ensures that the hormones can act quickly and precisely on the anterior pituitary without having to go through the general bloodstream. However, it's important to note that the posterior pituitary operates a bit differently. Instead of relying on this portal system, it is directly regulated by the hypothalamus through nerve signals. The hypothalamus sends nerve impulses that regulate the release of hormones from the posterior pituitary. Now, moving to inhibiting hormones. These are the hormones that tell the pituitary to slow down or stop releasing certain hormones. A key example is somatostatin, which inhibits the secretion of growth hormone from the anterior pituitary. All these hormones originate from neurons in the hypothalamus. They travel along their axons and are released from nerve endings directly into the blood vessels or surrounding tissue. This setup allows the hypothalamus to exert precise control over pituitary hormone secretion, balancing the body's needs effectively. Let's take a closer look at the pituitary gland, which is often called the master gland of the body. It's a small but incredibly important part of our endocrine system. The pituitary gland is responsible for producing and releasing a variety of hormones that regulate many other glands and bodily functions. Think of it as the control center that orchestrates growth, metabolism, and reproduction. It works closely with the brain, specifically the hypothalamus, to receive signals and respond accordingly. Understanding its role helps us see how interconnected our body systems truly are and emphasizes why maintaining its health is vital for overall well-being. The pituitary gland might be small in size, but it plays a really crucial role in our body's endocrine system. It's often called the master gland because it has such a significant influence on almost all other endocrine glands. It controls, or at least influences their functions, either directly or indirectly. So, even though it's tiny, its impact on hormonal regulation and overall body functions is enormous. This gland really exemplifies how size doesn't always correlate with importance, especially in the context of our body's complex hormonal network. The pituitary gland is a small, reddish-gray structure, roughly oval in shape. It's about the size of a pea seed, so quite tiny but incredibly important. This gland is located in a small bony cavity at the base of the brain called the sella turcica. This position allows it to be well protected while still being centrally located to control many hormonal functions throughout the body. Understanding its location and structure helps us appreciate how such a small gland can have such a big impact on our overall health and physiology. Let's take a closer look at the adenoepiphysis, which is also known as the anterior pituitary. This part of the pituitary gland is really important because it's responsible for producing and releasing a variety of hormones that regulate many different functions in our body. For example, it releases growth hormone, which is crucial for development and cell growth. It also secretes hormones like adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, which helps control our stress response by stimulating the adrenal glands. Additionally, it releases hormones like prolactin, which plays a key role in milk production, and the gonadotropins, luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone, which are essential for reproductive processes. So, in essence, the adenoepiphysis acts as a master regulator, coordinating several vital hormonal functions that keep our body balanced and functioning properly. This interconnected role really highlights how central the anterior pituitary is within the endocrine system, tying into our overall theme of understanding hormonal regulation. Now, let's talk about the adenoepiphysis, which is the glandular anterior portion of the pituitary gland. This part is quite interesting because it's divided into two main sections. The first is the pars distalis, and the second is the pars intermedia. These two parts essentially represent the anterior and intermediate lobes of the pituitary. Understanding these divisions is important because each has specific functions and hormone productions that play a crucial role in regulating various bodily processes. So, when we think about the adenoepiphysis, keep in mind that it's not just a single uniform structure, but rather a complex, partitioned gland with distinct regions contributing to its overall activity. In males, FSH and androgens work together to regulate spermatogenesis, which is the process of sperm cell development. In females, FSH plays a crucial role in stimulating the growth and development of ovarian follicles, the structures that contain the eggs. Now, focusing on follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH, in males, it promotes the synthesis and secretion of androgens from the testes. It's interesting to note that LH in males is also called ICSH, or interstitial cell stimulating hormone, because it affects the interstitial cells of Leydig in the testes. In females, FSH induces the ovulation of mature follicles, known as Graafian follicles, and it also helps maintain the corpus luteum, which forms from the remnants of these follicles after ovulation. Moving on to luteinizing hormone, LH is secreted by the gonadotroph cells in the anterior pituitary. Both FSH and LH are classified as gonadotrophins because they stimulate gonadal activity in both males and females. Next, gonadotrophin hormones are secreted when the anterior pituitary's corticotroph cells are stimulated by adrenocorticotrophin-releasing hormone, or ACRH. This leads to the production of steroid hormones called glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex, which are vital for stress response and metabolism. Similarly, thyroid-releasing hormone prompts the thyrotroph cells in the anterior pituitary to secrete TSH, or thyroid-stimulating hormone. TSH then stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroid hormones, which are essential for regulating metabolism and energy. Prolactin, or PRL, secretion is triggered by prolactin-releasing hormone. This hormone acts on lactotroph cells in the anterior pituitary, leading to milk production and mammary gland development, key for breastfeeding. And then we have growth hormone, GH, also from the anterior pituitary. It stimulates growth in the body, influencing the metabolism of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. An overproduction in childhood can lead to gigantism, while in adults, it causes acromegaly, characterized by thickened bones. Conversely, insufficient secretion results in stunted growth, known as pituitary dwarfism. Finally, all these hormones are produced by the anterior pituitary, specifically in a region called the pars distalis, which is central to endocrine regulation and maintaining the overall hormonal balance essential for the body's functions. Like MSH, another important hormone called melanocyte-inhibiting hormone, or MIH, is also secreted. MIH's main role is to inhibit the secretion of melanocyte-stimulating hormone, or MSH. Now, MSH itself acts on melanocytes, which are the cells that contain melanin, and this regulation directly influences skin pigmentation. Essentially, MSH helps control how dark or light our skin appears. There's also a hormone called melanocyte-releasing hormone, which stimulates the intermediate lobe of the pituitary gland to secrete MSH. This part of the pituitary, known as the pars intermedia or intermediate lobe, primarily produces just one hormone, MSH. So, in summary, this section highlights how the intermediate lobe plays a specialized role in pigmentation regulation, mainly through MSH, and how MIH acts as a balancing hormone to inhibit that process. All of this fits into the bigger picture of hormonal control over skin coloration and endocrine regulation. Let's take a closer look at the neurohypophysis, which is also known as the posterior pituitary. This part of the brain plays a crucial role in hormone storage and release. It doesn't produce hormones itself, but instead, it stores and releases hormones that are made in the hypothalamus. The key hormones here are vasopressin, also called antidiuretic hormone, and oxytocin. These hormones are transported down nerve fibers from the hypothalamus to the neurohypophysis, where they are stored until needed. When the body signals a need for these hormones, the neurohypophysis releases them into the bloodstream, helping regulate water balance, uterine contractions, and milk ejection, among other functions. So, in the context of our overall discussion on endocrine regulation, the neurohypophysis acts as a critical link between the hypothalamus and the rest of the body, ensuring hormones are released precisely when needed. Now, let's take a look at the neurohypophysis, or the posterior pituitary. This part of the pituitary gland is essentially a storage and release site for two important hormones. These hormones are produced in the hypothalamus and then transported down axonal projections that extend into the posterior pituitary. This collection of axons terminates behind the anterior pituitary gland, and the neurohypophysis is also known as the pars nervosa. It's interesting to note that this region forms the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, acting as a conduit rather than a site of hormone synthesis. The key point here is that the posterior pituitary doesn't produce hormones itself. Instead, it stores and releases hormones like vasopressin and oxytocin, which are synthesized in the hypothalamus. Understanding this connection helps us see how the hypothalamus and pituitary work together as a coordinated system to regulate various physiological processes. During the time of parturition, or delivery, in the mother, the secretion of the hormone oxytocin reaches its maximum level. This hormone is uniquely responsible for triggering the sensations we associate with labor pain during birth. Because of its crucial role in the birthing process, it's often called the birth hormone, as well as the milk ejection hormone. Oxytocin is a short peptide, made up of just 9 amino acids, and it is also known by the name pitocin, especially in medical contexts. It acts primarily on the smooth muscles of the body, which include the muscles of the uterus. When released, it stimulates strong, vigorous contractions of the uterus, helping to facilitate the delivery of the baby. But its role doesn't stop at childbirth. Oxytocin also plays a vital part in feeding, as it causes the milk to be ejected from the mammary glands in females. So, this hormone is truly essential, not only for the process of giving birth, but also for nurturing the newborn through breastfeeding. Understanding oxytocin highlights how interconnected and finely tuned our hormonal system is during these critical moments of childbirth and early motherhood, tying together the themes of physiological regulation and maternal bonding. Now, let's talk about vasopressin, which is also known as antidiuretic hormone or ADH, and sometimes pitocin. It's actually a small peptide hormone, but its role in our body is quite significant. This hormone mainly acts on the kidneys, specifically targeting the distal tubules. What it does there is stimulate the reabsorption of water and electrolytes, which is really important for maintaining our body's fluid balance. By promoting water reabsorption, vasopressin helps reduce water loss through urine, a process known as diuresis. So, in essence, when your body needs to conserve water, say during dehydration, vasopressin levels go up to help retain that water, preventing excessive water loss. This regulation of water is crucial for maintaining blood pressure and overall homeostasis. Understanding vasopressin ties into the broader theme of how our body tightly controls internal conditions to keep us healthy and balanced. Let's take a closer look at the pineal gland. This small, pea-shaped gland is located deep within the brain, and despite its size, it plays a crucial role in our body's regulation of circadian rhythms. One of its main functions is producing melatonin, the hormone that influences our sleep-wake cycle. As darkness falls, the pineal gland ramps up melatonin production, helping us feel sleepy, and as daylight returns, it decreases production, promoting wakefulness. This connection to light and dark ties the pineal gland directly to our overall health and well-being. Understanding how this tiny gland works helps us see the bigger picture of how our body manages daily cycles and maintains harmony between our environment and internal processes. The melatonin hormone, often called the sleep hormone, plays a crucial role in promoting sleep. It's responsible for signaling to our body that it's time to rest. This hormone is secreted by a small but mighty gland called the pineal gland, which is located on the dorsal side of the forebrain. What's really interesting about melatonin is its role in regulating our body's 24-hour cycle, also known as the circadian rhythm. It helps maintain the normal rhythms of the sleep-wake cycle, ensuring we feel sleepy at night and awake during the day. But its influence doesn't stop there. Melatonin also helps regulate body temperature, metabolism, pigmentation, and even our menstrual cycle. Additionally, melatonin supports our immune defense, enhancing our ability to fight off illnesses. So, this tiny gland and its hormone impact many aspects of our overall health and well-being, tying into the broader theme of how our body's internal clock functions to keep us balanced and healthy. Let's take a closer look at the thyroid gland. This small, butterfly-shaped organ is located at the front of your neck, just below your Adam's apple. Despite its size, it plays a crucial role in regulating many bodily functions. It produces hormones like thyroxine and triiodothyronine, which are essential for controlling your metabolism, energy levels, and even your temperature. The thyroid also influences growth and development, particularly in children. Understanding how this gland functions helps us appreciate its importance in maintaining overall health. So, in the context of endocrine health, the thyroid gland is a key player that we should pay close attention to. The thyroid gland is known to be the largest endocrine gland in the body. It might seem small when you look at it, but it actually plays a crucial role in regulating many important functions. This gland is located in the neck, just below the Adam's apple, and it has a butterfly shape, with two lobes connected by a narrow isthmus. Its size and strategic location allow it to efficiently produce and release hormones that influence metabolism, energy levels, and overall growth. Understanding the thyroid's size and function helps us appreciate its significance in maintaining hormonal balance and overall health. So, even though it's the largest of the endocrine glands, its impact is far-reaching across various bodily systems. The thyroid gland is made up of small, round structures called follicles, which are held together by a loose connective tissue known as stromal tissue. These follicles are like tiny sacs, and each one is lined with follicular cells that surround a central cavity. This cavity is important because it's where the thyroid hormones are stored and released. The gland itself is positioned around the front of the larynx, or voice box, and it has a distinctive shape with two lobes, one on each side of the trachea, the windpipe. These two lobes are connected in the middle by a thin piece of tissue called the isthmus, which helps form the overall structure of the thyroid. Understanding the location and structure of the thyroid is key because it helps us see how this gland functions within the endocrine system, regulating important processes like metabolism and growth. Its strategic position in the neck allows it to efficiently release hormones into the bloodstream, impacting the entire body. Iodine is absolutely essential for the normal rate of hormone synthesis in the thyroid. Without enough iodine, the thyroid can't produce these hormones effectively. Now, the follicular cells in the thyroid are responsible for synthesizing two main hormones. The first one is tetraiodothyronine, also known as thyroxine or T4. This hormone contains 4 iodine atoms and plays a big role in regulating our metabolism. The second hormone is triiodothyronine, or T3, which has 3 iodine atoms. T3 is actually more active than T4 and is crucial for many bodily functions. These hormones work together to ensure our body's metabolic processes run smoothly, highlighting just how vital iodine is for overall health and proper thyroid function. Now, let's discuss hyperthyroidism, which is a condition where the body produces thyroid hormones at abnormally high levels. This overproduction can happen due to thyroid gland cancer or the development of nodules within the gland. When this occurs, it significantly impacts the body's physiology, often leading to symptoms like rapid heartbeat, weight loss, and nervousness. On the other hand, hypothyroidism, especially in adult women, can cause irregular menstrual cycles, disrupting normal reproductive functions. This condition generally results from iodine deficiency in the diet, which is essential for thyroid hormone production. In cases of hypothyroidism, the thyroid gland often enlarges, a condition known as goiter. This deficiency during pregnancy is particularly concerning because it can affect the developing baby. It may lead to issues like cretinism, which involves stunted physical and mental growth, low intelligence quotient, and other developmental problems such as abnormal skin, deafmutism, and more. Understanding these disorders highlights how crucial proper hormone regulation and adequate nutrition are for maintaining overall health and normal physiological functions. Let's take a closer look at the various functions of thyroid hormones. Beyond T3 and T4, the thyroid gland also secretes a protein hormone called thyrocalcitonin, or TCT. Its main role is to regulate the level of calcium in our blood, which is crucial for many physiological processes. Thyroid hormones are also essential in maintaining water and electrolyte balance within the body. They influence how our body manages fluids and minerals, ensuring everything stays in harmony. Another key function is their role in controlling the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. This means they help determine how our body converts these nutrients into energy, impacting our overall metabolic rate. Additionally, thyroid hormones support the process of red blood cell formation, which is vital for oxygen transport throughout our body. And speaking of energy, the hormones T3 and T4 regulate and maintain our basal metabolic rate, or BMR. They essentially set the pace for how much energy our body consumes at rest. Overall, thyroid hormones serve several important functions: regulating metabolism, maintaining mineral balance, supporting blood cell formation, all of which are interconnected and essential for our health. Let's take a closer look at the parathyroid gland. Although it's small, it plays a crucial role in our body's calcium regulation. These tiny glands are typically 4 in number and are located on the back of the thyroid gland in the neck. Their main function is to produce parathyroid hormone, or PTH, which helps maintain the right balance of calcium in our blood and bones. This hormone is essential because calcium is vital for many bodily functions, including nerve transmission, muscle contraction, and blood clotting. Understanding the parathyroid gland's role helps us appreciate how our body keeps calcium levels stable, which is fundamental for overall health. Let's take a closer look at the parathyroid gland. These are tiny glands located in the human neck, and despite their small size, they play a crucial role in our body's calcium regulation. They produce parathyroid hormone, which helps maintain proper levels of calcium in the blood and bones. Understanding how these glands function is important because they are integral to our overall endocrine system and help ensure our bones, muscles, and nerves operate smoothly. So, even though they're small, the parathyroid glands have a big impact on our health and well-being. fitting perfectly into the larger picture of how our body maintains balance. These glands are situated on the posterior side of the thyroid gland. When we talk about their location, it's important to remember that they are positioned behind the thyroid. This placement is key because it influences how they are accessed surgically and how they function in relation to the thyroid. Understanding their position helps us grasp their role and how they interact with surrounding structures. So, knowing that these glands are on the posterior aspect of the thyroid gives us a clearer picture of their anatomical relationship within the neck. This detail ties into the overall theme of understanding endocrine gland locations and their significance in health and disease. Parathyroid glands secrete a single hormone known as parathormone or parathyroid hormone, commonly abbreviated as PTH. This hormone functions in a way that is opposite to the action of thyrocalcitonin, which you might recall is involved in lowering blood calcium levels. The secretion of PTH is tightly regulated by the circulating level of calcium ions in the blood. So, when blood calcium levels drop, PTH secretion increases to bring them back up, and vice versa. There are 4 parathyroid glands in total, and each pair is located in the 2 lobes of the thyroid gland, situated on either side. These glands are quite small, flat, and oval in shape. Despite their size, they play a crucial role in maintaining calcium balance in our body, which is vital for many functions, including nerve transmission and muscle contraction. Understanding their structure and regulation helps us appreciate how finely tuned our endocrine system is when it comes to calcium homeostasis, connecting to the overall theme of hormonal regulation and its impact on health. Now let's look at how parathyroid hormone, or PTH, helps regulate calcium levels in our body. It stimulates the reabsorption of calcium, or Ca2+, by the renal tubules in the kidneys, which means less calcium is lost in the urine. At the same time, it promotes the absorption of calcium from the digested food in our intestines. Additionally, PTH encourages the process of bone reabsorption, which involves dissolving or demineralizing bone tissue to release calcium into the bloodstream. This makes PTH a very important hormone for maintaining calcium balance. Because of these actions, PTH acts as a hypercalcemic hormone. It increases the calcium level in the blood. Its secretion is tightly controlled by the blood calcium levels themselves. When calcium in the blood drops, the parathyroids detect this change and secrete more PTH to bring calcium levels back up. This balance is crucial because, alongside thyrocalcitonin, or TCT, PTH plays a vital role in regulating not just calcium, but also phosphorus levels. So, in summary, PTH's main function is to increase blood calcium levels, ensuring our body maintains proper mineral balance for healthy bones, nerves, and muscles. Let's take a closer look at the thymus. The thymus is a small, butterfly-shaped gland located just behind the sternum, near the heart. Despite its small size, it's incredibly important during early life because it's where T lymphocytes, or T cells, mature and differentiate. These T cells are crucial for our immune response, helping us fight off infections and recognize what's part of our body versus what's foreign. As we age, the thymus gradually shrinks, a process called involution, which means its role diminishes over time. This is why the immune system becomes less robust as we get older. Understanding the thymus helps us grasp how our immune defenses are established and maintained, especially in the early years. It's a key piece in the broader picture of immune system development and function. The thymus is a lymphoid gland, and what makes it particularly important is its role in the development of the immune system. It's one of those organs that might not get a lot of attention, but it's absolutely essential for how our body learns to defend itself. The thymus is where T cells, a type of white blood cell, mature and become specialized to recognize and fight pathogens. Without this process happening in the thymus, our immune response wouldn't be as effective. So, in the context of the immune system, the thymus acts as a kind of training ground, ensuring that our immune cells can distinguish between what's harmful and what's part of our body. It's a key piece in understanding how our immune defenses are built and maintained throughout our lives. The thymus gland is a lobular structure that you can find situated on the dorsal side of the heart and the aorta. If you imagine the upper part of the thorax near the heart, that's where it's located. It appears as a soft, pinkish, bilobed mass made up of lymphoid tissue. One interesting thing to note is that this gland is quite prominent during early life, but as we age, it tends to degenerate and become less noticeable. Understanding its structure and location is important because it plays a crucial role in the development of our immune system, especially in early childhood. So, the thymus is not just a small organ. It's strategically positioned to support immune function during our formative years. As we age, the thymus gland undergoes degeneration, which means it gradually shrinks and becomes less active. This process leads to a decrease in the production of thymosin hormones. And because thymosin is crucial for regulating our immune system, this decline results in a weaker immune response in older people. When thymosins are released into the blood, they have a stimulating effect on the entire immune system, helping to enhance our ability to fight off infections. In addition to this, thymosin also promotes the production of antibodies, which are essential for humoral immunity. That is, the part of our immune response that involves antibodies circulating in the blood. Now, the thymus gland secretes these specific peptide hormones called thymosins. These hormones play a major role in the differentiation of T lymphocytes, which are a type of white blood cell. T lymphocytes are vital because they provide cell-mediated immunity, our body's direct response to infected or abnormal cells. So, in summary, the hormones from the thymus, especially thymosins, are essential for developing and maintaining a strong immune system, and their decline with age is a key reason why immune responses weaken as we get older. Let's take a closer look at the adrenal gland. This small but mighty gland sits on top of each kidney and plays a crucial role in our body's response to stress. It produces a variety of hormones, including adrenaline, which prepares us for fight-or-flight situations, and cortisol, which helps regulate metabolism and immune responses. The adrenal glands are essential for maintaining homeostasis, especially during times of physical or emotional stress. Understanding their function helps us appreciate how our body adapts to various challenges and maintains balance. This connects to the overall theme of how interconnected our endocrine system is in regulating vital processes. Our body has a pair of adrenal glands. Each one is located at the anterior part of each kidney. These tiny but vital glands sit right on top of the kidneys, which are essential organs involved in filtering blood and producing urine. The adrenal glands are positioned in a way that allows them to quickly respond to stress and help regulate various hormones. Their location is strategically important because it enables them to efficiently communicate with the kidneys and other parts of the endocrine system. Understanding where these glands are situated helps us appreciate their role in maintaining our body's balance and overall health. Now, let's take a closer look at the different layers of the adrenal cortex, starting with the zona glomerulosa, which is the outermost layer. This layer is made up of 5 layers of tightly packed cells. The hormones secreted by all 3 layers of the adrenal cortex are collectively known as corticoids, and they play crucial roles in various bodily functions. Moving inward, we have the zona fasciculata, the middle layer of the cortex. Interestingly, this is the widest of the 3 layers, and it primarily produces glucocorticoids, which are vital for metabolism and stress response. Finally, the innermost layer is the zona reticularis. Its cells are arranged in a net-like fashion, and it mainly secretes androgens, which are precursors to sex hormones. It's also important to remember that the adrenal glands themselves are external, firm, and pale yellowish in appearance. They are derived from the mesoderm of the embryo. Structurally, they are divided into these 3 concentric layers, forming a complex yet highly organized system that supports various endocrine functions essential for maintaining homeostasis. Now, let's look at the hormones secreted by the adrenal cortex. First, we have the sexocorticoids, or androgens, which are crucial not only for development, but also for various functions in both males and females. They play a significant role in the development of the embryo, or fetus, and are responsible for the growth of axial, pubic, and facial hair during puberty. Additionally, in young girls, these hormones contribute to the development of acne. The adrenal cortex produces a small amount of these androgenic steroids, specifically DHEA, which acts as a precursor for both testosterone and estrogens. Moving on, the second group is the glucocorticoids, with cortisol being the main one. Cortisol is essential because it helps regulate metabolism, particularly of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. It stimulates the liver to produce glucose from non-carbohydrate sources such as amino acids and glycerol, a process called gluconeogenesis. It also promotes lipolysis and proteolysis, which are breakdown processes for fats and proteins, respectively. Cortisol also plays a vital role in controlling inflammation and suppressing the immune response, which is important during stress or injury. It helps maintain our cardiovascular system and ensures proper kidney function. Another key function of cortisol is stimulating the production of red blood cells, or RBCs, which are vital for oxygen transport in our blood. Finally, let's discuss mineralocorticoids, with aldosterone being the major one. Aldosterone mainly acts on the renal tubules in our kidneys. It promotes the reabsorption of sodium ions and water back into the bloodstream, which helps maintain our body's electrolyte balance, blood volume, and blood pressure. At the same time, it encourages the excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. Overall, these hormones work together to keep our internal environment stable, ensuring proper functioning of our body systems. Let's start by discussing adrenal virilism. This condition occurs when there is an excess of sex corticoids in females, leading to the development of male secondary sexual characteristics. You might notice features such as a beard or mustaches, which are quite distinctive. It's a clear sign that the adrenal glands are producing too much androgenic hormones. Moving on, Cushing's syndrome is caused by an excess of cortisol. Cortisol is a vital hormone, but when it's overproduced, it can lead to a range of symptoms like weight gain, thinning skin, and muscle weakness. It's important to recognize this because the excess cortisol can significantly impact overall health. Similarly, if there's an excess of aldosterone, it results in a condition called aldosteronism. This hormone plays a key role in regulating blood pressure and electrolyte balance, so too much of it can cause issues like hypertension and low potassium levels. Lastly, Addison's disease is essentially the opposite scenario. It's caused by a deficiency of mineralocorticoids, which are critical for maintaining salt and water balance. This deficiency can lead to symptoms such as fatigue, low blood pressure, and electrolyte disturbances. All these disorders highlight how the hormones secreted by the adrenal cortex are vital for maintaining various body functions. Understanding these conditions helps us see the delicate balance required for hormonal health and the profound effects when this balance is disrupted. Let's talk about noradrenaline, also known as norepinephrine, and adrenaline, which is epinephrine. These are two crucial hormones that play vital roles in our body's response to stress and emergencies. Now, the adrenal medulla, which is the inner part of the adrenal gland, is where these hormones are produced. It sits right in the center of the adrenal gland and has a soft, dark reddish-brown appearance. Interestingly, this tissue comes from the ectoderm during development. The adrenal medulla's main function is to secrete these two hormones, noradrenaline and adrenaline, that help prepare our body to respond quickly in stressful situations, like during a fight or flight response. So, understanding this part of the adrenal gland gives us valuable insight into how our bodies manage stress and maintain balance. Let's take a closer look at how these hormones prepare our body to respond to stress or danger. First, they stimulate the breakdown of lipids and proteins, providing quick energy sources. This is crucial during emergencies when energy demands suddenly spike. At the same time, they increase our heartbeat and respiration rate, helping to deliver oxygen and nutrients more rapidly to our tissues. They also promote the breakdown of glycogen, which raises the glucose levels in our blood, fuel our muscles need to act quickly. Another interesting response is the dilation of the pupils, which enhances our vision and awareness of our surroundings. We also see piloerection, where hairs on our hands and legs stand up, sometimes called goosebumps, which is a vestigial response from our evolutionary past. Most notably, these hormones increase alertness, sharpening our senses and focus. All these effects are orchestrated by the adrenal medulla in response to signals from the central nervous system during stressful situations. These hormones are known as emergency hormones or hormones of the fight or flight because they prepare us to either confront or escape danger. They belong to the catecholamine family, including adrenaline and noradrenaline, and are secreted whenever we face stress, danger, or emergency conditions like falling blood pressure or blood sugar levels. Their activation ensures that our body is primed for rapid action, providing us with the necessary energy and heightened senses to deal with whatever threat we face. Let's take a closer look at the pancreas. It's a vital organ with a dual role in our body. On one hand, it acts as an exocrine gland, producing enzymes that help us digest food. On the other hand, it functions as an endocrine gland, releasing hormones like insulin and glucagon to regulate blood sugar levels. This balance is crucial for maintaining overall health. The pancreas's ability to coordinate these functions highlights its importance in our body's complex network. Understanding the pancreas helps us appreciate how interconnected our systems are, especially in processes like metabolism and digestion. So, whenever we think about maintaining health, the pancreas is definitely a key player to keep in mind. The pancreas is a fascinating organ because it functions as a composite gland, meaning it has both exocrine and endocrine roles. Essentially, it has two different types of tissue working together to support our body. The exocrine part produces digestive enzymes that help break down food in our intestines, while the endocrine part releases hormones like insulin and glucagon directly into the bloodstream to regulate blood sugar levels. This dual function makes the pancreas a key player in both digestion and metabolic regulation. Understanding how this gland operates highlights the complexity of our body's systems and how they work in harmony to keep us healthy. It lies below the stomach, in the loop of the duodenum. This means that the organ we're talking about is situated quite low in the abdominal cavity, specifically underneath the stomach. To give you a clearer picture, it's positioned within the loop of the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine that connects to the stomach. This location is important because it highlights how closely connected this organ is to the digestive system, especially the stomach and the duodenum. Understanding its position helps us appreciate its role and how it interacts with surrounding structures. So, in summary, this organ's placement beneath the stomach and within the duodenal loop is key to understanding its function and its relationship with other abdominal organs. Now, let's take a closer look at the pancreas and its vital role in hormone secretion. The pancreas is an elongated, yellowish gland, and it's made up of many acini and ducts. But what's particularly interesting is that it also contains these small clusters of specialized cells called islets of Langerhans. In a typical human pancreas, these islets make up only about 1 to 2% of the total pancreatic tissue, yet they are crucial for hormone production. Within each islet, there are primarily two types of cells. The first is the beta cells, which constitute roughly 60% of the islet cells. These cells are responsible for secreting insulin, a peptide hormone that plays a key role in lowering blood glucose levels. Then, we have the alpha cells, making up about 25% of the islet cells. These cells secrete glucagon, which has the opposite effect, raising blood glucose levels when needed. Understanding these cell types and their functions helps us appreciate how the pancreas regulates blood sugar and maintains overall metabolic balance. It's a perfect example of how specialized cell groups work together to keep our bodies functioning smoothly. Now, let's talk about glucagon. This peptide hormone plays a crucial role in helping to maintain our normal blood glucose levels. Essentially, when blood sugar levels drop, glucagon is released to help raise them back to a safe range. It does this by stimulating the liver to convert stored glycogen into glucose, which then enters the bloodstream. It's important to understand that glucagon and insulin work in opposition to each other. While insulin helps lower blood glucose by promoting its uptake into cells, glucagon acts to increase blood glucose when it's too low. Think of them as a balancing act, maintaining homeostasis within our body. This antagonistic relationship is vital because it ensures our blood sugar levels remain stable, whether we're fasting, exercising, or after a meal. Recognizing how these hormones function together helps us appreciate the complex regulation of energy in our bodies, which is a key theme in understanding metabolic health. Now, let's talk about insulin. This peptide hormone plays a crucial role in regulating blood glucose levels. It mainly acts on hepatocytes, which are liver cells, and adipocytes, or fat cells. When insulin is released, it promotes the uptake and utilization of glucose by these cells. This process helps move glucose rapidly from the blood into the liver and fat tissues, effectively lowering blood glucose levels, which we refer to as hypoglycemia. Importantly, insulin acts as a powerful anabolic hormone, meaning it promotes the building up of molecules like glycogen and fat. Moving on to glucagon, it actually stimulates insulin secretion from beta cells through a process called paracrine signaling, where cells communicate locally. Glucagon has several effects. It reduces glycogenesis, which is the formation of glycogen from glucose, and it enhances lipolysis, the breakdown of fats into fatty acids. But what's really interesting is that glucagon also stimulates gluconeogenesis, which is the conversion of fatty acids or amino acids into glucose. This process can contribute to hyperglycemia, or high blood sugar levels. Because of these actions, glucagon is known as a hyperglycemic hormone. It reduces cellular glucose uptake and utilization, especially in liver cells. Glucagon primarily acts on hepatocytes, stimulating glycogenolysis, the breakdown of glycogen into glucose. This results in an increase in blood sugar levels, which is another way the body ensures it has enough energy during fasting or between meals. So, to sum up, insulin lowers blood glucose by promoting storage and utilization, while glucagon raises blood glucose by breaking down stored glycogen and producing new glucose. Both hormones work together to maintain blood sugar balance, which is essential for overall metabolic health. Now, let's explore some additional effects of insulin. First, insulin also reduces the catabolism of proteins and fats, meaning it helps preserve these vital energy sources. It encourages the synthesis of fat in adipose tissue from fatty acids, promoting fat storage. Additionally, insulin decreases gluconeogenesis, which is the process of generating glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. This helps lower blood glucose levels. It also decreases glycogenolysis, the breakdown of glycogen into glucose, further reducing blood sugar. The primary action of insulin in target cells is to stimulate the conversion of glucose into glycogen, a process called glycogenesis. This is how insulin helps store excess glucose for later use. Because of these crucial roles, insulin therapy is highly effective in treating diabetic patients. Diabetes mellitus, as many of you know, is a common complex disorder caused by prolonged high blood sugar levels, or hyperglycemia. It often results from the pancreas failing to release enough insulin, which means glucose isn't reabsorbed properly by the kidneys and is lost in the urine. When this happens, cells can't utilize glucose and other carbohydrates efficiently for energy. Instead, they start breaking down proteins and fats, leading to weakness and other complications. In summary, insulin deficiency disrupts normal metabolic processes and highlights how essential this hormone is for maintaining energy balance and overall health. Let's talk about the testis. The testis is a crucial part of the male reproductive system. It's primarily responsible for producing sperm, which is essential for male fertility. Additionally, the testis produces testosterone, the hormone that plays a key role in developing male secondary sexual characteristics, such as facial hair and deeper voice. Understanding the testis helps us grasp how the male reproductive system functions as a whole. It's not just about reproduction, it's also about the hormonal balance that influences many aspects of male health. So, whenever we think about reproductive health, the testis is a central focus because of its dual role in both sperm production and hormone secretion. These are the primary sex organs of males. They play a crucial dual role in the male reproductive system. On one hand, they function as male sex organs, producing sperm necessary for reproduction. On the other hand, they act as endocrine glands, meaning they secrete hormones that regulate various bodily functions. The key hormone produced by these organs is testosterone, which is vital for the development of male secondary sexual characteristics. Now, focusing on the testis, which is one of the main organs in this system, it's responsible not just for sperm production, but also for hormone secretion. Understanding these roles helps us see how interconnected the reproductive and hormonal systems are in maintaining male health and fertility. A pair of testes is located in the scrotal sac, which is outside the abdomen. This positioning is actually quite important for their function. By being outside the main body cavity, the testes are kept at a temperature slightly lower than core body temperature. This cooler environment is essential for proper sperm production and development. The scrotal sac acts as a protective and supportive structure, ensuring the testes are held in the right position. Remember, the proper location of the testes is crucial not just for fertility, but also for overall male reproductive health. This external placement highlights how anatomy is often optimized for the physiological processes it supports. Let's take a closer look at the structure of the testis. Inside, you'll find many seminiferous tubules, which are the sites of sperm production. These tubules are lined by germinal epithelium, where the process of spermatogenesis occurs. Surrounding these tubules is stromal or interstitial tissue, which plays a supportive role. Now, focusing on the cells involved, the follicular cells are part of the epithelium lining the tubules. They are crucial because they provide nourishment to the developing sperms and also secrete a hormone called inhibin, which helps regulate sperm production. Next, we have the Sertoli cells, which are quite fascinating. They secrete a group of hormones known as androgens, mainly testosterone. These hormones are essential for the development and maintenance of male secondary sexual characteristics and also support spermatogenesis. Finally, let's talk about the interstitial cells, also known as Leydig cells. These are located in the stromal tissue and are responsible for producing testosterone, which, as I mentioned, is vital for sperm development and other male characteristics. So, in summary, the testis is a complex organ with specialized cells working together. Follicular cells supporting sperm development, Sertoli cells secreting hormones to regulate the process, and Leydig cells producing testosterone to drive these functions. Now, let's talk about the interstitial cells, which are located in the spaces between the seminiferous tubules. These cells play a crucial role because they produce a specific group of hormones called androgens. When we say androgens, we're referring to hormones like testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, and androstenedione. Among these, testosterone is by far the most significant and the main hormone secreted by these cells. This production of testosterone is essential because it influences many functions, including the development of male secondary sexual characteristics and the regulation of sperm production. So, understanding these interstitial cells helps us grasp how the testes contribute to male hormonal balance and reproductive function as part of the overall endocrine system. Now, apart from testosterone, another important hormone is secreted from the testes by the Sertoli cells, and that is inhibin. Its main role is to regulate and check the overactivity of testosterone, essentially inhibiting its secretion when necessary. In addition to this, inhibin also promotes the growth of body tissues such as bones and muscles, which helps in developing a masculine body. It has anabolic effects, meaning it supports the synthesis and metabolism of proteins and carbohydrates, contributing to overall growth and energy. These hormones, including inhibin, also stimulate the physical changes we associate with puberty in males. This includes muscular growth, the development of facial and axillary hair, increased aggressiveness, a lower-pitched voice, and so on. Furthermore, inhibin plays a critical role in the process of spermatogenesis, which is the formation of spermatozoa. It helps ensure the proper development of sperm cells. Finally, inhibin, along with other hormones, influences the development, maturation, and functioning of male accessory sex organs such as the epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and urethra. All these functions are interconnected and vital for male reproductive health and secondary sexual characteristics. Let's talk about the ovaries. These are vital reproductive organs, and in this slide, numbered 15, we'll explore their key roles. The ovaries are responsible for producing eggs, or oocytes, which are essential for reproduction. They also secrete important hormones like estrogen and progesterone, which regulate the menstrual cycle and support pregnancy. Understanding the ovaries' function helps us appreciate how the female reproductive system maintains fertility and hormonal balance. They're small but mighty organs that play a central role in overall reproductive health. Recognizing their functions ties back to the broader themes of how the reproductive system works as a coordinated, intricate system. The ovaries are quite fascinating structures. They are almond-shaped, which gives them a distinctive appearance. Internally, you'll find that they are composed of ovarian follicles, which are essential for egg development, and stromal tissues that provide structural support. These components work together to support not just the reproductive process, but also hormone production. Understanding their structure helps us appreciate how they function within the broader context of the female reproductive system. Now, let's talk about the hormones produced by the ovary. The ovary produces two main groups of steroid hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogens are primarily secreted by the granulosa cells within the Graafian follicle. These hormones are crucial for the development of female secondary sexual characteristics and regulation of the menstrual cycle. After ovulation occurs, the ruptured follicle doesn't just disappear, it transforms into a structure called the corpus luteum. This new structure is responsible for secreting progesterone, which is vital for maintaining the early stages of pregnancy and preparing the uterus for possible implantation. Understanding these hormone dynamics is key to comprehending how the ovaries regulate reproductive processes and support overall female reproductive health. Relaxin is another hormone secreted by the ovary, especially during the later stages of pregnancy. Its main role is to soften ligaments and widen the pelvic cavity, which is essential for childbirth. This process can also affect other ligaments, such as those in the foot, and many women notice an increase in foot size during pregnancy due to this effect. Additionally, relaxin helps in forming a mucus plug at the cervix, which acts as a barrier to protect the developing fetus. It also plays a key role in stimulating the mammary glands, promoting the formation of alveoli. These are the sac-like structures that store milk, and aiding in milk secretion. During pregnancy, relaxin is secreted in very high amounts continuously, supporting pregnancy by helping form the placenta and preventing premature contractions of the uterine wall. Moreover, relaxin is involved in the development of the growing ovarian follicles, ensuring the ovary continues its vital functions. Moving on to progesterone, this hormone directly influences the development of the mammary glands, preparing them for milk production. It also plays a crucial role in regulating female sexual behavior and stimulating the growth and activity of secondary sex organs, like the uterus and vagina, which are essential for reproductive health. In addition, progesterone helps in the growth of the uterine endometrial lining during each menstrual cycle, creating a suitable environment for a fertilized egg to implant and develop. Now, regarding estrogen, both estrogen and progesterone are vital for many female reproductive processes. Estrogen is primarily responsible for developing and maintaining female secondary sexual characteristics, such as the deposit of fat on the thighs and hips, and it also influences the pitch of the voice. Together, these hormones work harmoniously to regulate the menstrual cycle, support pregnancy, and develop secondary sexual characteristics, all of which are fundamental to female reproductive health. Let's take a closer look at the hormones of the heart and kidney. These organs don't just perform their primary functions, they also produce hormones that play crucial roles in regulating blood pressure, fluid balance, and overall cardiovascular health. For example, the heart produces atrial natriuretic peptide, or ANP, which helps reduce blood volume and pressure by promoting sodium excretion. On the other hand, the kidneys release renin, which is a key part of the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or RAAS, that ultimately increases blood pressure when needed. What's really interesting is how these hormones work together to maintain homeostasis. When blood pressure drops, the kidneys release renin to help raise it, while the heart releases ANP to counteract excessive pressure. This delicate balance is vital for our health and underscores the interconnectedness of these organs. Understanding these hormonal interactions allows us to see how disruptions can lead to conditions like hypertension or heart failure. So, recognizing the roles of these hormones not only deepens our grasp of cardiovascular regulation, but also highlights potential targets for therapy. This interconnected hormonal system truly exemplifies how our body maintains stability amidst constant change. On this slide, we're looking at some of the important hormones produced by the kidney and the heart that help regulate our body's functions. First, let's talk about erythropoietin, which is a peptide hormone produced specifically by the juxtaglomerular cells in the kidney. Its main role is to stimulate the production of red blood cells, a process known as erythropoiesis. This happens by activating the increase of erythropoiesis in the hematopoietic tissues, which are the tissues responsible for blood cell formation. So, essentially, when our oxygen levels drop, the kidney responds by producing more erythropoietin to boost red blood cell production and improve oxygen transport throughout the body. Now, moving on to hormones of the heart, we have the atrial natriuretic factor, or ANF. This is a very important peptide hormone secreted by the atrial walls of the heart, especially when blood pressure rises. The key function of ANF is to cause dilation of the blood vessels, which helps to lower the blood pressure. This mechanism is part of the body's way of maintaining blood pressure within a healthy range, especially when it gets too high. Connecting these points to our overall theme, these hormones illustrate how the kidney and heart work together to maintain homeostasis, especially in blood composition and pressure regulation. They are excellent examples of how our organs communicate and respond dynamically to keep our internal environment stable and balanced. Let's take a closer look at the hormones of the gastrointestinal tract. These hormones play a crucial role in regulating digestion and coordinating various functions within our digestive system. They are secreted by specialized cells in the stomach and intestines in response to food intake and other stimuli. Some of the key hormones include gastrin, which stimulates the secretion of gastric acid to help break down food in the stomach. Then there's secretin, which prompts the pancreas to release bicarbonate to neutralize stomach acid as it enters the small intestine. Cholecystokinin, or CCK, is another important hormone. It stimulates the release of digestive enzymes from the pancreas and causes the gallbladder to contract, releasing bile to emulsify fats. Understanding these hormones and how they interact is essential because they help coordinate the digestion process efficiently. They ensure that enzymes and bile are released at the right time and in the correct amounts, optimizing nutrient absorption. In the context of overall digestion, these hormones act as messengers that help synchronize the activity of different organs. Recognizing their roles highlights the complex, yet beautifully coordinated, system that keeps our digestive processes functioning smoothly. Secreted by the intestinal mucosa, this hormone's main role is to stop or inhibit the secretion of gastric juice and its motility into the stomach. It's called gastric inhibitory peptide, or GIP for short. GIP acts on the exocrine portion of the pancreas, which, as you remember, is a mixed gland performing both exocrine and endocrine functions. When GIP stimulates the pancreas, it promotes the secretion of water and bicarbonate ions, helping to neutralize stomach acid and prepare the intestine for digestion. Apart from these hormones, there are several other hormones secreted by non-endocrine tissues, known as growth factors. These are crucial because they support normal growth, repair, and regeneration of tissues, essential processes for maintaining overall health. Now, there's another hormone that acts on both the pancreas and the gallbladder. When it stimulates these organs, it encourages the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and bile juice, respectively. This hormone is cholecystokinin, or CCK. It plays a vital role in digestion, especially in fat digestion and signaling the gallbladder to release bile. Finally, we have gastrin, which acts on the gastric glands to stimulate the secretion of hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. This process is key for breaking down food in the stomach and creating an optimal environment for digestion. And to wrap up, it's important to remember that the GI tract develops from the endoderm of the embryo. Throughout different parts of this tract, specialized endocrine cells secrete 4 major peptide hormones, which coordinate the complex processes of digestion, absorption, and tissue maintenance. Understanding these hormones helps us see how intricately connected and well-regulated the gastrointestinal system truly is. Let's take a closer look at the mechanism of hormone action. When hormones are released into the bloodstream, they travel to their target cells. There, they need to interact with specific receptors to exert their effects. These receptors can be located either on the cell surface or inside the cell itself. The key difference is that surface receptors typically mediate rapid responses, like changes in enzyme activity or ion channels. In contrast, intracellular receptors usually regulate gene expression, leading to longer-lasting effects. Understanding this mechanism is crucial because it explains how hormones can produce such diverse and specific responses in different tissues. It also highlights the importance of receptor distribution and sensitivity in determining the overall hormonal response. This connection ties back to the overall theme of how the endocrine system precisely controls various bodily functions through these finely tuned interactions. Hormones are released from their respective glands in very small amounts, but even in tiny quantities, they have a significant impact on the body. They carry out widespread effects, influencing various functions throughout the organism. Now, what's fascinating is that their response is very specific and precise. They don't just affect any tissue randomly. Instead, they target specific areas. This specificity is achieved through the binding of hormones to particular proteins called hormone receptors. These receptors are located only in the target tissues that need the hormone's effect. So, the mechanism of hormone action hinges on this selective binding, ensuring that each hormone produces its effect exactly where it's supposed to, which is essential for maintaining the body's overall balance and function. Now, let's take a closer look at the different types of hormones based on their chemical nature. First, we have peptide, polypeptide, and protein hormones, like insulin, glucagon, and various pituitary and hypothalamic hormones. These are generally composed of amino acids and tend to be water-soluble, which affects how they travel in the bloodstream. Next, there are amino acid derivatives, such as epinephrine, which are formed from amino acids but have undergone some modification. These hormones often act quickly and have potent effects. Moving on, we have steroids, including cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, and progesterone. These are lipid-soluble hormones derived from cholesterol, allowing them to easily cross cell membranes and bind to intracellular receptors. Lastly, we have iodothyronines, which are thyroid hormones like T3 and T4. These hormones are also derived from amino acids, but contain iodine, playing a crucial role in regulating metabolism. Understanding these groups helps us grasp how hormones are classified and how their chemical structure influences their function and mode of action in the body. Let's explore the types of hormone receptors present inside and on the target cells. First, we have hormone receptors that are located inside the target cell, such as nuclear receptors. These receptors are found in the nucleus of the cell and play a crucial role in regulating gene expression in response to hormones. They are what we call intracellular receptors. On the other hand, there are hormone receptors that are situated on the cell membrane of the target cells. These are known as membrane-bound receptors. They are essential for initiating rapid signaling responses when hormones bind to them. So, to summarize, hormone receptors can be broadly categorized into two types: intracellular receptors, like nuclear receptors inside the cell, and membrane-bound receptors on the cell's surface. Understanding these distinctions helps us grasp how hormones exert their effects through different pathways, which is fundamental to the overall theme of hormone signaling. Hormones themselves do not participate directly in metabolic reactions. Instead, they act as messengers, specifically primary messengers, to relay signals to target cells. When hormones interact with membrane-bound receptors, they typically do not enter the target cell under normal circumstances. Instead, they generate secondary messengers such as cyclic AMP, IP3, or calcium ions, which then regulate cellular metabolism. For example, protein or peptide hormones usually work through this extracellular receptor mechanism. This process highlights how hormones initiate a cascade of signals outside the cell, ultimately influencing internal cellular functions. Understanding this receptor-based signaling is crucial because it explains how hormones can have widespread effects without entering the cell directly. It's a key concept in grasping how hormonal regulation maintains homeostasis in the body. Let's take a closer look at the functioning of peptide hormones. These hormones are unique because they don't enter cells directly. Instead, they act through specific receptors on the cell surface. When a peptide hormone binds to its receptor, it triggers a cascade of events inside the cell. This typically involves the activation of second messengers, like cyclic AMP or calcium ions, which then relay the signal internally. These second messengers activate enzymes or other proteins that carry out the hormone's effects. This process allows for rapid and precise regulation of cellular activities. Understanding this mechanism is key, as it highlights how peptide hormones can exert powerful effects without entering the cell itself, aligning with the overall theme of how hormones communicate and regulate bodily functions efficiently. Protein hormones are water-soluble in nature, which means they can easily travel through the bloodstream without needing carriers. When they reach their target cells, they bind to extrinsic receptors that are present on the cell's surface. This binding forms what we call the hormone receptor complex. Now, this complex is crucial because it triggers a cascade of events inside the cell. One of the first outcomes is the release of an enzyme called adenylate cyclase. Once activated, this enzyme converts ATP, which is the cell's energy currency, into cyclic AMP, or CAMP. This cyclic AMP acts as a second messenger, amplifying the signal from the hormone and relaying it inside the cell. The formation of this hormone receptor complex also changes the permeability of the cell membrane. This means the membrane becomes more or less permeable to certain materials, allowing substances to enter or exit the cell more easily. This regulation of membrane permeability is vital because it helps control various cellular activities and ensures that specific responses are initiated as needed. Additionally, the generation of second messengers like CAMP or calcium ions, Ca2+, can influence the cell's nucleus by modifying chromosome functions. This interaction often involves the hormone receptor complex interacting with the genome, which is especially common with steroid hormones and iodothyronines. These hormones can directly alter gene expression, leading to long-term changes in cell function. To sum up, this process highlights how peptide hormones, which are water-soluble, activate cells through surface receptors, trigger second messengers, and ultimately regulate cellular activities by influencing both membrane permeability and gene expression. This intricate mechanism is fundamental to how hormones exert their specific effects in the body. Now, let's take a closer look at how steroid hormones function in the body. These hormones are quite unique because they can cross cell membranes easily, thanks to their lipophilic nature. Once inside the cell, they typically bind to specific receptors located either in the cytoplasm or directly in the nucleus. This hormone receptor complex then acts as a transcription factor, meaning it can turn genes on or off. This process ultimately influences protein synthesis and affects cell behavior. What's really important to note is that this mechanism allows steroid hormones to produce more prolonged effects compared to other signaling molecules. Because they directly regulate gene expression, their actions last longer and can produce sustained changes in the cell. Understanding this functioning is key because it ties into how hormones like cortisol, testosterone, and estrogen exert their effects on tissues, influencing everything from metabolism to reproductive functions. It's this ability to modulate gene activity that makes steroid hormones so powerful in maintaining homeostasis and regulating various physiological processes. Steroid hormones are lipid-soluble in nature, which means they can easily pass through the cell membrane. Once they cross the membrane, they bind to specific receptor molecules located in the cytoplasm. This binding forms a hormone receptor complex. Now, this complex isn't just sitting there, it actually enters the nucleus of the cell. This process is crucial because it allows the hormone to directly influence gene expression, leading to a cellular response. Understanding this mechanism helps us see how steroid hormones regulate important functions in the body, connecting to the broader theme of how hormones control physiological processes at the molecular level. Let's take a closer look at the antagonistic and synergistic interactions of hormones. These interactions are fundamental to understanding how our body maintains balance and responds to various stimuli. Antagonistic interactions occur when two hormones have opposite effects, essentially working against each other to regulate processes like blood sugar levels or calcium balance. For example, insulin and glucagon are classic antagonists. Insulin lowers blood sugar, while glucagon raises it. On the other hand, synergistic interactions happen when hormones work together to produce a combined effect that is greater than the sum of their individual effects. Think of it like teamwork. When hormones coordinate their actions, they can amplify responses, such as in the case of certain hormones involved in childbirth or stress responses. Recognizing these interactions helps us understand the complexity of hormonal regulation and how the endocrine system fine-tunes physiological processes. It's a delicate balance between opposition and cooperation, ensuring our body's internal environment remains stable and responsive to change. This interplay is a key part of the overall theme of hormonal regulation and homeostasis that we've been exploring throughout this presentation. Thank you for your attention throughout this presentation. In synergistic interactions, you can think of two or more hormones working together to produce a greater effect on target cells. For example, hormones like estrogen, progesterone, oxytocin, and prolactin all work in concert to stimulate the secretion, production, and ejection of milk in the mammary glands. This illustrates how hormones can complement each other, enhancing the overall response. On the other hand, hormones can also interact in ways that oppose each other, which we call antagonistic interactions. A classic example is insulin and glucagon. They have opposite effects on blood glucose levels. When insulin lowers blood sugar, glucagon raises it, so they work against each other to maintain balance. Understanding these interactions, whether synergistic or antagonistic, is key to grasping how hormonal regulation maintains homeostasis. Thank you again for your attention, and I hope this helps clarify the complex ways hormones communicate and coordinate within our bodies.